So I majored in visual communications at NKU, and I chose this by actually, it was a project of mine in high school where we had to find different creative roles that we were interested in. And my stepdad was actually a graphic designer, and I decided to interview him and really learned a lot about graphic design and how creative roles can be used in different ways. And I was super interested. And then I was a part of the NKU Rocks program where I came onto campus beforehand, was super interested, and decided to choose graphic design as my major. Yes, so my current position is I'm an experience designer at Facebook. I work on our employer brand team, which is essentially the marketing team for recruiting. And specifically when it comes to experience design, I am developing and crafting different experiences within the candidate journey from the time that someone is interested in looking at Facebook as an employer to the time that they go to an interview to the time that they become a new hire. I develop and create different experience along that journey. I have always been a creative person, normally in visual and performing arts. I went to a visual arts and performing middle school and high school. I majored in high school in stagecraft and production. And then, as I mentioned, decided on graphic design. So I've always been a creative person and just wanted to find a specific type of role, which was design. That really allowed me to kind of venture out. I can do creative things in the performing arts, but I can also do things in tech and financial services. So design just gave me a broader scope to be able to be creative in different ways. There's a lot of meetings, a lot of kickoff moments where I'm working with my partners to understand scope and make sure that I understand the full depth of a project. I'm also doing a lot of calendar meetings, writing agendas. There's actually a lot of operational things that happen before I actually get to the creative part of my job. So I try to schedule a couple hours a day where I can just block off time, not look at my email or any chats and work on creative work. But the majority of my work now, which I've realized is a lot more operational. The most satisfying aspects of my job are when we're in person, I would go on campus to our events. So anytime we were throwing a recruiting event that I worked on, I got a chance to go in person and physically see the setup of the day, which I really enjoy. There's something really exciting about seeing the work that you make on a computer in real life. Another thing with some of our larger exhibitions like Grace Hopper or Afrotech, I would get to work directly with our vendors on fabrication. So going into their studios and looking at materials, figuring out scale, seeing what types of products we have and what we can use was always super interesting. I'm really into like the tactical, tangible things. So being able to be in person was and still is a really exciting part of my job. Most recently, there's been a lot of kind of niche segments of design that have popped up: product design, UX, content design, all these different things. But especially with COVID, I feel like one of the more trends that I feel like we'll see is people really have a need to like touch and feel things and be in person. So I see things like industrial design, environmental design being some of the more focused areas moving forward, like people who are designing spaces. If you think about what is a safe space after COVID, is like, how do we all interact together? And people who are thinking about those things, same thing of physical products with industrial design, I really see those two being some exciting trends and roles that'll be coming up in design. is definitely being adaptable, being able to lend yourself to your client's needs is very important. Someone who can work in ambiguous waters, knowing that you may not always get a brief that's super clear, but being able to work through that and communicate with people well is definitely important. And then the last thing is being a strategic thinker. Someone who can think several steps ahead allows you to work smarter, not harder, but also allows you to take on a different type of ideals of different partners. So you can think in a perspective of your partner is super helpful in working with them, so that you're not just thinking about, oh, these are my goals and my priorities, but you can think about theirs as well. And it just really allows for better compromise and collaboration. When it comes to jobs, it definitely depends on what type of role you're looking for. If you're looking for something more in the freelance era, there's tons of creative agencies that can set you up with clients who are looking for short-term projects or maybe individual projects. So there's things like Creative Circle that are super useful. But if you're looking for part-time or full-time employment, the regular career boards are super useful. LinkedIn is something that we at Facebook use a lot. It's essentially your digital resume where you can show all the roles that you've ever worked in. You can share a little bit more about yourself, and it's also a really easy way to connect with people, whether it's people in your industry or people who you've worked with before. But then again, there's standard things like LinkedIn, Indeed. All of these places are great to look at, but also suggesting if there's a specific company that you really, really are interested in, just going onto their job boards and seeing what's available is another way to apply directly on their websites. And then another plug for that is if there's a role or a company that you're really interested in, but there's not a role yet, connect with everyone on social, connect with people on a team that you're maybe interested in, or the company as holistically on their platforms. That way you can be informed on anything new that may be coming up. Something that I wish I knew a little bit more about design before getting into it is, as you continue to grow your career and let's say be something like a creative director, is how much of the range you let go as you're actually not creating and designing on an everyday basis. You kind of move in from being collaborative to being more on the leadership role where you're really delegating tasks and just doing holistic art direction. So you're not the person actually developing the full thing from the time inception to the time that it goes to actual fabrication. So that was something that was really new to me. I assumed that I would just be designing my entire life. I definitely do still have creative moments, but I'm definitely more into delegating and working with vendors to create a vision, which is still just as exciting. One suggestion I would have is to just build out a portfolio and start doing work. So you don't have to wait until you graduate and start getting a job. You can definitely do freelance work on things like Fiverr, maybe to just test out like, oh, I may be interested in Illustrator or illustrating, or I may be interested in product design. Just doing projects for people to make sure that you have interest is definitely important. As well as just doing pro bono work. Like, it doesn't have to be a job. You can definitely, like, if your cousin has a salon, you can do the logo for them. Just doing work to get the experience is super useful before you jump into the workforce, and building out your portfolio so that you have other things to show once you are ready is super useful. For current NKU students, enjoy it while you're there. College is such an interesting experience. It's not just about your studies, it's about people skills, it's about learning to work with other people. You're on your own, you're growing as a person, so definitely enjoy it. And another thing is be proud of your school. Now living in California, I was always like the only person from Kentucky that I knew. But what I've realized is I've been set up for success in so many other ways that people that I've worked with, coworkers, teammates, who come from very prestigious schools weren't. So it's like be proud of where you are, be proud of where you're from, but also, you know, take that experience because you actually have a different perspective from other people. And that really is how you can continue to set yourself apart, is really just by living in your truth and knowing that your experience may be different from others, but it's still useful.